What exactly makes a studio apartment flow in a cohesive, harmonious way? Like, if we were to break it down into a kind of recipe of style elements, furniture layout, and just intangible vibes, what would be in that recipe? This has been hot on my mind for the past month or so since I moved into my new studio apartment. So I've been looking for visual inspiration online, as one does, and I found myself wondering what exactly makes for a successful studio apartment setup. Well, today I'm gonna show you some stunning studios I found online and break down exactly why they work so well. What are each of their style recipes? You know, the ingredients that make them look so good. So if you're stumped on how to make your studio or small space of any kind look stylish and cohesive, let me show you the ingredients you can use to cook up your dream space. And first off, a wonderful way to help you cook up your dream space is to DIY your own decor or learn a new hobby that you can enjoy in your apartment. And this is where the sponsor of today's video, Craftsy, comes in. Craftsy is your online resource for all things creative, and it's perfect if you're looking for a new cozy hobby. They have classes on sewing, decorating, knitting, baking, and so much more. There are just so many classes on Craftsy that are perfect if you're looking for your next DIY project or creative pastime. It's really just so much fun to dive into. So go to the link in my description and get the first full year of Craftsy Premium for only $1.49. Offer valid for new members only. And thank you to Craftsy for sponsoring this video. And if you're new here, my name is Steffi and this is Hilo, and on this channel I talk about small apartment styling, cozy living, some of the more niche, alternative fantasy styles, and the joys of living alone. So if you're into that, consider subscribing and giving this video a like. So let's get into these inspiring studio apartments I found, and I'll break down the exact ingredients that make them look so good and flow so nicely. And let's start with Seconds with Sarah. Her New York studio is pure serenity. The overall look almost has a soft cloud-like quality to it, but it's also grounded by the exposed brick. And the result is just simply a calming space. So why does this work? What is the recipe here? First ingredient is a simple and cohesive color palette. See how her whole space doesn't really deviate too much from the neutrals and the creams? A simple and even repetitive color palette in a studio is just an easy and effective way to make it look cohesive and also flow together nicely. See how seamlessly her living room area transitions into the bedroom area? They're unified, yet also separated by the use of these curtains. And that's another ingredient she uses in her style recipe in her studio, the use of curtains. These curtains create a subtle sense of separation between the two zones, the living room and the bedroom, without being too heavy-handed about it. I'm not gonna go off on a rant about how dividers are not necessary in a studio apartment. I mean, maybe I will go on a little bit of a rant because it's relevant. This is a video about studio apartment layouts, and I guess I would be remiss to not repeat my sentiment that physical dividers are usually not necessary in a studio. In my opinion, they often make a studio feel more closed off than it needs to be, and therefore make it feel more cramped. There are always exceptions to this, of course, but that's just my general opinion on physical studio dividers. And what Sarah does so well is this use of her curtains creates that separation, but it's with a lighter touch. And the result is this sort of softness in the space. And that softness is echoed in her bedroom area with the curtains paired with her windows. This makes it feel like the bedroom area and the living room area are talking to each other. They're speaking the same language with also a subtle hint of separation. And then you add in her mirror placement, which creates the illusion of more space with all of her really pretty little accessories, all of which convey like this understated elegance. Her rugs, her sconces, her art, her florals. All of these ingredients come together to make her studio look beautiful and also flow beautifully. So give Seconds with Sarah a follow on Instagram. I'll link to her in the description, as I will with the rest of the accounts I'm featuring. I know a lot of you might have tastes that are a little bit more on the darker, moodier side. You know, if you follow me, that's probably what your thing is. But let's also allow some space for these lighter color palettes as well. To be honest, most of the studios out there, if not every single one of them, are these lighter color palettes. Like my dark ass studio is definitely a deviation from the norm. But there's a lot to learn from other people's styles, so keep an open mind because all of the studios I'm featuring are on the lighter side of things because frankly, I can't find other dark, moody studio apartments out there. So comment below if you follow a dark, moody studio. Like, tell me where these people are because I can't find them. Now I want to show you the studio apartment of Natasha Badger. I love this studio so much because it has this thrifted vintage charm about it. It looks very collected, and she really makes the most of this tiny 400 square foot space. One thing that's naturally working in her favor is the pre-existing architecture of the space. There's a natural separation here because the living room area and the bedroom area are separated by the kitchen. So she doesn't really have to worry about separating the studio into different zones. It's pretty much already zoned out for her. Like any studio, it's still a challenge to make things flow nicely. And like the last studio, and really all of these studios, this is something all of these have in common, is the cohesive color palette. So her repetition of neutrals combined with the color green is one of the key ingredients that makes her studio look so lovely. Another style ingredient she employs that really makes a huge difference as to why this studio looks so great is the beautiful chandelier in her living room area. My goodness. I am such a sucker for a vintage style chandelier, and hers completely elevates her space. Like, I would even venture to say that this chandelier alone transformed her entire studio. It like took it to a whole new level. So when decorating your studio, don't sleep on lighting. It really can take things to new heights in your space visually. And her space is proof of that. And then another ingredient that makes her studio look so stylish and also so personal and lived in is her selection of little vintage thrifted pieces. I'm not really sure which of these she actually thrifted versus what just looks vintage, but either way, the items that she has curated for her apartment are what bring her personality in and create these little story vignettes throughout the space. And this is what breathes life into her apartment. These are the little details that make it clear that a human lives here. A creative and inspired human, not just an algorithm-induced aesthetic. She's able to pack a lot of her personality within such a limited space. And it's not through bold maximalist statements, which is more my approach. but more subtly through these little collected vignettes. Another ingredient that she's incorporated into her studio is a really nice use of space. And even though her layout is pretty straightforward, I mean, it just makes sense that her living room is on one side of the kitchen and her bedroom is on the other, she really makes the most of this longer, skinnier floor plan. In her living room, I would almost like to see a sofa here instead of these two chairs, even if it's just like a small love seat, just to give the living room more of an anchor. But at the same time, what's lovely about the chairs for her layout is it gives her some flexibility. So if she has people over, for example, easily movable chairs can really come in handy. So these things just come down to lifestyle and what a particular person needs from their space. There really isn't a rule book here, especially when it comes to studio apartments. We really can't play by the same design rules that more conventional living situations can play by. So if you want to skip the sofa and just do chairs instead, that's totally an option for your layout. And then also in her living room, she somehow even managed to fit in a little desk area without it looking like a crammed in afterthought. It's seamlessly integrated into the space. And that's really just a testament to her styling skills. The white desk blends in with the flow of the living room, while her shelf styling looks intentional and personality driven, just like the rest of her apartment. Beautifully done. So if you're someone who needs a workspace in your studio, this is a really lovely example of how you can do it. So give Natasha Badger a follow and get a closer look at the magic she's created in her studio. There's lots of inspiration to be found here. The next studio I want to show you comes from Sincerely Fafs. Now, this is a studio that just screams quiet luxury, which I realize is an oxymoron, but it's an oxymoron that makes sense to me in Sincerely Faf's case, because there's an understated luxury to her space, but it's also so vivid. Her styling is like a stage whisper, you know? It's subtle, yet so pronounced. It's quiet, but it's meant to be heard. For example, when you zoom out, you see an overall serene, calming space. But when you zoom in to, say, her coffee table, this is a moment of boldness. This is a coffee table book selection that shouts her style and her personality. You can tell so much about a person by their coffee table book selection, and when it's arranged in such a grand way, almost like a horizontal art gallery, that's a statement. So I really love her push and pull between serenity and boldness. That's really a key yet subtle ingredient to her style recipe. The next ingredient here is another beautiful use of curtains. I have to tell you, after researching studios for this video, I'm starting to be pretty sold on the use of curtains as dividers, because when you look at Sincerely Faf's studio and also at Seconds with Sarah's studio previously, the curtains almost act as more of a frame than a divider. Instead of a hard barrier, they're more of a soft framing. And then when it comes to her layout, I'm obviously a fan of hers, where her sofa runs parallel to her bed. That's the layout I currently have, as well as in my last studio. And based on my experience, I'd say her couch could have acted as her divider on its own with this case, without the curtain. But at the same time, the curtain really just elevates the space and gives it a sense of grandeur that I just find irresistible. This studio just flows so nicely, and I'm really just kind of enamored by the paradox I'm seeing in it, the quiet luxury and the bold grandeur. This kind of visual complexity, even though you might not notice it consciously, is a key ingredient that makes this studio just really delicious. So give Sincerely Fafs a follow. Her whole Instagram is just so visually decadent and will definitely give you some ideas if you want to elevate your apartment and make it feel luxurious. Now the next studio I want to show you comes from Lone Fox Home, which is one of my favorite online creator interior designers out there. I think that his designs are just so stunning. And this studio he designed is no exception. It's such a fresh yet warm space. I mean, Lone Fox knows exactly how to wield a warm brown to perfection. So to me, that's really a key ingredient in why this studio works. It's warm and earthy and inviting. So consider creating a sense of warmth in your space, whether it's through earthy browns or a thoughtfully selected vintage wood piece, or just an intangible sense of coziness through textures and lighting. Whatever warm means to you, lean into it to achieve a homey feeling like this. And a key part of the style recipe here is the mix of vintage finds and DIY. Lone Fox is pretty much the king of antiquing, upcycling, and DIYing, and he straight up made this headboard for this studio. The curvature here brings a subtle softness and femininity while also acting as a focal point in the room. The uniqueness of it makes your eye land on it immediately, and the human eye likes to be told where to land. That's why a strong focal point or multiple strong, clearly carved out focal points are visually appealing. The human eye likes to be told what to do. Another ingredient at play here is something that addresses a challenge a lot of small space dwellers face: where to put the TV and how to make it less of an eyesore. And he very cleverly incorporated the TV into a gallery wall scenario, effectively transforming the TV into a piece of art itself. This is quite genius, if you ask me. And then in terms of layout, this is an example of zero physical dividers being used, not even curtains. Yet see how there's a very clear separation between the living room, bedroom, and dining area? The studio is separated into clear zones, yet unified by the same styling language. And one of the reasons why this layout flows so well is see how the living room and bedroom furniture forms a triangle with each other? Triangles are another thing the human eye loves. Anytime you can create a well-executed triangle in a room, it's probably gonna look good, whether it be on a smaller scale with accessories on a shelf or coffee table, or on a larger scale like this with furniture. So this is just a beautifully executed studio layout, even in just a purely geometrical sense. I just love this studio, and I know a lot of you watch Lone Fox because YouTube analytics told me so, and I'm right there with you. And I just have to acknowledge how devastatingly stunning his kitchen is. Ugh, I mean, oh my God, it's so beautiful, it hurts to look at it. And I think this just might be my dream kitchen, to be frank. And really his entire home he's been renovating is just a feast for the eyes. So definitely check out his YouTube channel if you haven't already. And then the final inspiring studio I want to show you is one of my very personal favorite apartments on the internet. And this one comes from Hummisbird. Now, first of all, I realize this is not a classic studio apartment. It's technically a railroad style apartment, which is a pretty common floor plan in New York. I used to live in a railroad style apartment when I lived in New York. And this just means it's like a row of rooms and you have to walk through one room to get into the next. So we're kind of bending what a studio apartment is here. It's just instead of an open square of a room, it's a skinnier studio that's more segmented, you know? Either way, the living room area and bedroom area share the same space, so effectively this is a studio, at least for our intents and purposes here. We can still analyze this exquisite apartment and glean studio inspiration from it. Because look at it. Talk about vintage elegance. This apartment transports you to another time. And sure, part of this is due to the existing architecture of her apartment. It's an old New York apartment, and a beautiful one at that, which means it comes with an instant, timeless charm baked in. But she took that timeless charm and ran with it. She said, I see your timeless charm, and I raise you a treasure trove of antique finds that enhance that charm by like 1,000%. And I love that she seems to be operating with a maximalist sensibility here in that she's really filling out the space. There are so many little things here and there to take in, so many little pockets of styling, yet it doesn't feel cluttered. She's just flirting with clutter here, which as a fellow maximalist clutter flirt myself, I really get that. And part of why it doesn't feel cluttered is, of course, a simple and cohesive color palette, which is an ingredient that all of these studios I've talked about have in common. But it's also the fact that there's a dance going on here between the little clusters of items and the large statements. And the large statements are loud. Her grand headboard, the wallpaper in her bedroom area, the chandelier, the fireplace, the large piece of art above her sofa. It's all like a song. You have the quieter verses, the little clusters of styling objects throughout the space, and then the louder chorus pieces. If the styling in this apartment was made up of only one or the other, that's when it would look cluttered. So don't make everything small, nor everything big in a small space. The balance between the two is what will make it look like an intentionally designed room. And then in terms of layout, there's definitely some built-in advantages here in terms of creating separation, with her bedroom area being carved out by this archway. But she adds additional definition to the separation with curtains, yet also leans into the drama with her headboard. So she's not trying to hide the bedroom area, she's merely allowing it to be clearly defined, not hidden. This is not a headboard of a girl who wants to hide her bed. And also, this being an old New York apartment, I'm sure it comes with its quirks. Take her stove, for example. It's kind of oddly placed, jutting out without being surrounded by cabinets. This is an obvious styling challenge, yet she handles it beautifully. Her styling took this from a weird old apartment quirk to an interesting and just purely pretty piece of the kitchen, which just continues to be pretty from there. I mean, her kitchen is just, Jesus, I can barely stand how delectable it is. This is another dream kitchen that I'm showing you here. Anyway, every apartment has its quirks, especially the old ones, and she shows how possible it is to take those quirks and transform them into something beautiful. Overall, honestly, this whole space is just pure art. What else is there to say? This apartment is what I hope heaven looks like. I'd gladly spend eternity here. Just give Hummusbird a follow and you'll see what I mean. So those were the inspiring studio apartments I found that I think could really help all of us when it comes to figuring out our own layouts and our own sort of style recipes for our spaces. So definitely give them a follow. Like I said, they'll be linked in the description. And if you want a more in-depth sort of tour of my new studio apartment, then watch this video. I basically just take you through the space and show you what it's looking like so far. And stick with me going forward to see how it continues to come together in here. But in the meantime, give this video a watch next.